A year ago today, I began my journey in solo running every Unova evolution line in Pokemon Black and White. So far, I have made it up to 55 of those Pokemon, including some of the alternate forms and future generation Pokemon. But it's been a fantastic journey. I've learned so much, I have met so many great people, and I am now very happy with how my 2025 has gone. Sure, the channel probably didn't grow as much as I had hoped, but I'm still really enjoying doing what I do week after week, and today we are going to be finally revisiting all three of the starters that desperately need some justice from my very first run. I'm Shadow Stitch, and I like solo running Pokemon Black and White. That's right, everybody. It is finally time to revisit the starters, and of course we are going to be starting with Serperior. This is by far still my favorite of the three starters. It is such a cool Pokemon. It's a snake. I love snakes. I have so many of them in my house. So yeah, it definitely goes to reason how much I love this Pokemon. So yeah, and before we get things started, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the tier list. This is now a fully up-to-date tier list and ready to go for 2026. All of these Pokemon, this is every Pokemon that I have run in 2025 on this tier list with good up-to-date results, and I am very much looking forward to filling out the starters into here so we have a full list and going into 2026 where we will play a lot more. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. You see the rules on screen. There's more niche stuff down in the description, and while you're down there, if you haven't already and you like these Pokemon Black and White solo challenges, feel free to hit that subscribe button. And with that said, let's go ahead and get into it and see how Serperior-line does an entire year later in Pokemon Black and White. So before we get into it, I do want to mention this video is probably going to be a little bit more in-depth than I usually do. Of course, this being my first full-on re-rank video, I want to go through a lot of different things that I ended up learning and optimizing whenever playing this Pokemon specifically. Of course, this is not the first re-rank I've done, but I feel like the starters are a little bit special. All of that said, though, of course, we are going to be taking Snivy out of the box, even though we do preload our own Snivy into the run so we can have perfect stats, nature, and all of that fun stuff. But let's go ahead and break down the evolution line now. So starting things off with Snivy, we have a great speed stat of 63, but kind of underwhelming offenses at 45 in both, with 45 HP and 55 in both defenses. It's really not that bad of a Pokemon, but those offenses are definitely going to hold it back a little bit. We are a medium slow growth rate, which you can now see on this graphic, and over on the right side you'll also be able to see my nature, that being naughty today, and it is a pure grass type. It does have the ability Overgrow, just like all the other grass type starters. This ups my grass type move damage by 50% if I'm at a third HP or less. As the moves that we start off with, we got Leer and Tackle. Not too bad. We got a way to debuff defense, and that's going to be very useful for us going forward. And we will eventually pick up Vine Whip, although with only 35 base power, it's a very minor improvement to Tackle, effectively being only a 2 base power increase, which is not great. However, at level 13, we get a incredibly busted setup move this early in growth. In Generation 5, this now buffs attack and special attack, which is absolutely fantastic. And in the Sun, it can also buff it by 2 stages, but we're not really going to be taking advantage of that today. And then at 16, we will learn our signature move in Leaf Tornado before we evolve at 17 into Servine. So Servine's not too bad. We have a nice buff to all of our stats, going up to 60 in both offenses, 60 HP, 75 in both defenses, and 83 speed. So we have good speed. We can outspeed pretty much everything in the early game without too many problems, and we have enough bulk to probably take a couple hits. At level 20, we'll learn Leech Seed. 24, we get Mega Drain, and 28, we actually get a nice upgrade to Tackle in Slam, albeit it doesn't have the best accuracy, so we're gonna have to still work around that. Leaf Blade at 32 is great, and then at 36 we will learn the absolutely busted move in Coil, which we will talk about later, and also of course evolve up into Serperior. So Serperior, this is by far my favorite starter, and I think it still has a ton of potential, especially when I'm going into this really try-harding and making sure that I can give this Pokemon good justice. So it does, of course, learn Giga Drain later on at 44. Nice way to heal. Ring Out is another kind of signature move of this Pokemon, but it's really not that great. It's very similar to Crush Grip from Regigigas. Does more damage the higher the opponent's health is, but it's really not that good. Gastro Acid's kind of useless, and Leaf Storm, while powerful, it's not really going to be that great to lower our special attack over and over again. Although it does pair very nicely with its hidden ability Contrary, which we are not going to be using today because I do ban hidden abilities in my Pokemon Black and White 1 series. Although we probably wouldn't want it anyway, it's really not that useful because, as you'll see going through this run, we do rely on setup quite a bit, and Contrary kind of messes that up. So anyway, looking at the TM side of things, we of course get Return. Aerial Ace is nice coverage. Rock Smash is great. Dragon Tail is potentially useful, but I don't really think that we're going to be seeing it today. And that's pretty much about it. We can go for that Sunny Day Growth combo if we really want to. We can set up screens if we really want to, but I don't think that Serperior is going to be able to requiring any of that. So with all of that said, I think Serperior is really set up for success, albeit it might have a little bit of a slow start. So let's go ahead and get into the run. I am going to be battling all of the trainers on Route 2 and then face off with Bianca. She is very easy, so I'm not really too stressed about her. However, before Cheren, I am going to head into the Dream Yard, and then we're going to get all of our experience right there, but not pick up the monkey just yet, just in case I do black out to the gym. And then we're going to meet up with Cheren in the trainer school with a couple leers into tackles, into more leers into tackles. We can knock him out, and then at the end of the battle, we can learn Growth, which is going to be fantastic and very useful as we make our way into the gym. Thankfully, the gym trainers don't really give us any problems. There's not too much to talk about here, so we can go straight to our first gym leader. Of course, as a grass type, we are going to be facing off with Chili. He is arguably the hardest of them. We are going to go for a lot of growths right here. We just need to make sure that we have enough power to two-shot this Pansear. We do. We easily tank a unboosted Incinerate, and there we go. We got our first gym badge. I do think that this fight is pretty consistent for Snivy, so I'm not too stressed about that, but I still wanted to delay grabbing the monkey just in case. After getting contracted by Fennel, we are going to head back to the Dream Yard, go ahead and cut down that tree with the monkey that we grab, and then beat up the plasma dudes before we can head out towards Route 3. Before we go to Route 3, though, I do want to cover my first Mart buy. We are going to grab 11 repels, 3 paralyze heals, 2 antidotes, and then spend the rest of our money on super potions. This is almost always my kind of go-to Mart buy. It does, of course, depend Pokemon to Pokemon what I actually end up getting, and then we're going to head into the preschool. The trainers here give decent experience. In my opinion, it's pretty much the only worthwhile experience on Route 3 here, and we can also pick up an Ultra Ball in the sandbox before taking care of the only mandatory double battle in the game, which we do have to make sure that we have our monkey in the party for. We also learned Leaf Tornado, so this is pretty quick work, and we can go ahead and face off with Cheren. So for Cheren, we do have a setup move in growth, but we need to be very careful to avoid Blaze. Because of that, we are going to be going for 2 growths into a Leaf Tornado because he does have Defense Curl and he does like to go for that, so Leaf Tornado ends up being a little bit better. After our first Leaf Tornado, he is left out of range of his Oranberry, so we can set up a final 3rd growth, go for Leaf Tornado, and knock him out, bypassing the Oranberry and the threat of Blaze. After that, of course, the Purloin isn't going to be too much of a problem, and then we also hit level 17, where we will evolve up into Servine. Head into the Wellspring Cave with our new evolved form, easily handle the plasma dudes in here, and then we are going to pick up our HM friends. In here, we can use our Dusk Ball on a Woobat for a roughly 97% catch, and we can also grab a Roggenrola, which we can very easily weaken thanks to it having the sturdy ability, and then just chuck an Pokeball to easily catch it. So we're not really going to end up using the Ultra Ball today, even though I do actually end up using the Ultra Ball. I'm sorry. And then we can go ahead and head out of the cave, pick up a glitched rare candy in the grass over here, and head into Nacrene City. In Nacrene City, we will get some Chesto Berries from Cheren. These 3 Chesto Berries will definitely come into play. And we can also head over here, tell this girl that we got a Snivy, and we can get a Miracle Seed. We can also grab an Ultra Ball on the patio over here and pick up the TM for Rock Smash before heading into Pinwheel proper, where we are going to be battling the Nurse Trainer here, so we can get a nice free heal, but also set her up to have a nice healing spot for later on. After that, there's an Ether over here, and then I'm going to pop a Repel and run my way through the Pinwheel Forest. We're going to battle all of the trainers pretty much in here to get some decent experience, especially the kid with the 3 Panpors. He is by far the best experience in here, other than maybe the Nurse. But he's very worthwhile. He's pretty quick to get to, and he gives solid experience and even some speed EVs, so that's pretty good. After taking care of the Black Belt and Battle Girl in the deeper part of the forest, we can also get a extra Ether hidden in the flowers over here and pick up a Net Ball. The Net Ball is pretty useful. We can go ahead and throw it at the first Temple that we find to get a 100% catch rate on the Temple. This Temple is actually pretty useful as well because I have slightly modded my game to make sure that it has a 100% chance as opposed to the normal 50% chance to hold a Person Berry. We're not going to end up using that Person Berry today, but it's incredibly useful in some other runs, and there isn't really another great way to grab a Person Berry without going pretty far out of your way. And with all of that, we're going to return to Nacrene City, deposit our team so we can set it up for potential Lenora Blackout grinding, and to also skip a double battle later before we face off with N right in front of the gym. end is pretty easy. Of course, we have growth. I didn't quite hit level 20 like I wanted to, so I'm just going to set up 2 growths right here, and tackle is still not going to quite knock out that pit up. And if you remember in my first run, I really liked going with Leech Seed. I thought it was pretty important, but it ends up not actually mattering at all in this more optimized run, so I'm going to say no to that as we knock out the rest of his Pokemon very easily, and we can head into the gym. There's really not a whole lot to talk about in the gym. We have Miracle Seed boosted leaf tornadoes, so we can kind of pretty much just dominate this gym without any need for setup. And as we click the final book, we do have to make sure that we pop one of those ethers that we picked up on leaf tornado, because we are running very low on the PP there, and we can go ahead and face off with Lenora. So there are 2 ways to win this fight. Both are semi-inconsistent. You can either set up growth enough to be able to one-shot everything. That is going to end up being 3 or 4, depending on how much damage you take. Or you can take enough damage from the Herdier to get you into overgrow range, and then you really only need 2 growths, and with the boost of overgrow, you are able to just easily plow right through with leaf tornadoes. Thanks to Survine's good natural speed, it can outspeed the Watchog, so that's not really too much of a problem. And this time around, we ended up getting enough Leers and random takedown misses that we were able to set up enough growths to just one-shot the Watchog without the need for overgrow. And so yeah, that is a very nice way. It's very nice that there's 2 different ways to beat Lenore depending on how the fight goes, but that's pretty cool. So after seeing the Plasma Dude steal a skull for some reason, we can chase them into Pinwheel Forest. And as we enter into Pinwheel, we do see that double battle that we skipped. Because we only have 1 Pokemon, they will not trigger a double battle, and then we can head inside to clear out a couple Plasma Grunts. There is a Ranger right here with a Herdier that gives a pretty solid experience, so I usually like battling him, and he also gives you a Chestoberry. There is a Spinner Youngster right here, right before we face off with the next Ranger, so he's sometimes annoying, but not too bad. The Ranger right here does have a Pansage. This is the only mandatory one that we do have to fight in the gym and in the entire forest, and he does give us another Chestoberry, so that's pretty great. More Plasma Grunts, no problems, and then we can finish things off. There is the TM for Grass Knot in here, but we are not going to be needing that today, and you do end up having to fight 1 extra Ranger to get it, and he does have a Panseer, so I don't really need it today, so I'm not going to bother wasting that time. As we get out of the forest and clear out the Plasma guys, there is a couple extra trainers on the bridge over here, and we are going to just kind of skip those and head straight into Castelia City, but they are usually very nice to knock out if you ever want to come back here for the rare candy. However, today we're not going to be bothering with that, so let's go ahead, cross that gorgeous Skyra Bridge, and head into Castelia City. So in the big city, the first thing we're going to do is head to the East Street, go up the first skyscraper on the left, and grab the TM for rest. This is going to be very useful for us much later, but it is also a fantastic option, especially with all those Chestoberries. We can get a massage from the girl downstairs, boosting our happiness as well, so whenever we pick up Return, that'll get a nice boost. And then we can also grab the Eviolite on the North Street, giving us a fantastic boost to our defense and special defense by 50% as long as we remain unevolved. After that, I sometimes like to go out here, since I'm already so far up, to do a little bit of extra training on the Fisherman on Route 4. And up here, I do also want to mention that we did end up getting Mega Drain. If you remember in my first run, I kind of forgoed Leaf Tornado because I really wanted to keep Leech Seed. However, I think that was definitely a misplay. Mega Drain is definitely kind of like the way to go and serves more or less the same purpose as Leech Seed, but arguably even better, so that's pretty great. So after taking care of the fisherman right here, we have a nice house over here that will heal us up for free, so that's really good, pretty quick as well. And then we can head back into town. We're going to start the little chase sequence and go ahead and meet up with everybody in the pier. Nothing really that big of a deal, and we're going to actually be skipping the battle company today, although we will be seeing it potentially later on because it is a great place to get a bunch of extra experience. But Servine is not going to need that today, so after taking care of the plasma dudes on the side street, we can head into the gym. It is a little bit slow going with the bug types in here, but they're not too much of a threat. And then at level 27, we can use that one rare candy that we got to get to level 28 and learn Slam just in time to face off with Berg. I definitely suggest that you save here because this could definitely go awry very quickly. Whirlipede has Screech, it can poison with Poison Tail, it has a high crit move in Poison Tail, so that's really annoying for sure. We are going to need to be setting up 3 growths right here to make this fight very relatively consistent. So it's not perfect, but it is the way that I found the best to win this fight. You can't really afford too much time, but if you can ever sneak out 4 growths, this fight gets even better, but 3 usually seems to be the limit. Anyway, after our 3 growths, we are going to go for Slam and knock out the Whirlipede. His Dwebble comes in next, and we can heal off a bunch of that damage with Mega Drain, which is very nice. And we still have Leaf Tornado, which is going to come into play right here against the Levani. We are going to go for Leaf Tornado. It does have a chance to lower his accuracy, but we more just need it for a little bit of extra chip damage, so then he's in range of Slam. It is not a perfect range, though, and as we see, I do leave his Levani on very low health, so he's able to heal up, and unfortunately, I just missed too many slams to get the dub right here. The second time around, though, we are going to get back to that Levani. I am going to go for that Leaf Tornado again, and then we do get the range that we needed to knock him out with a Slam, so that is really nice. So that's a little bit inconsistent, but this is still a very solid strategy in my opinion for Berg, and we only have 1 reset on him, so that is great. Let's head out towards Route 4 and meet up with our rivals. Bianca is, of course, very easy. She does have Intimidate on her Herdier now, but we can just set up a single growth and then go to town with some Leaf Tornadoes, so that's pretty great. Pansear does need a Slam. It does have the chance to miss, but it's still pretty easy, and we can even finish off the Dewap for Mega Drain, so we get a nice, easy win right there, and we can go ahead and face off with Cheren. So this fight is arguably Cheren's toughest fight. You don't have a lot of great tools at this point in the game. You usually don't have great moves, and you have to deal with the Sandstorm. That said, though, we can set up relatively safely on the Pit of. For Servine's case, we do have to worry about super effective Air Cutter, and it does have a good chance to crit. However, after we set up our 2 growths, we can go for a Slam, knock that out. Go for a Slam on the follow-up Pignite, and that will drop as well. Same thing with the Pansage, and then a final Leaf Tornado for his Liepard in the back, and then we are set free to go into Nimbasa City. On our way through, I am going to battle Backpacker Jerome. You do have to bypass him. You can pass him. He is a random spinner, but as you can see here, I do miss so many slams, so I thought it was just kind of funny to show that one off, and then we could finally head into Nimbasa. After chasing off the plasma dudes, we get a bike from the old guy and have a quick chat with Bianca before we are set free. There is a lot to do here, but usually the first stop is always going to be stopping by the Pokemon Center to grab the TM for Return and picking up some Hyper Potions. Of course, Return, it's not quite at max power yet, but it is going to be a huge upgrade to Slam, and we don't have to worry about accuracy shenanigans anymore, so that is just great. I will take that for sure. Next up, we are going to have our lovely little Ferris wheel ride date with N, and go ahead and battle him when we get off. N is pretty easy in this fight. He does have some things that can be annoying in the back, but his Sandile is relatively easy to set up on. It does use Embargo, which shuts off our Eviolite, but with the power of our Gross, we can make our way through his team pretty easily. The Sigilyph actually does live a return, but even though our Eviolite is turned off, we can tank the Air Cutter pretty well and finish off his last Scraggy in the back and head into the gym. As we make our way through the gym, the Emolgas are very annoying. They do like to paralyze me, but I can just make it my way through pretty easily. And then at level 32, we are also going to be learning Leaf Blade, which is going to be our go-to stab move going forward. So right now we effectively have all the offensive power that we are going to need in this run. So let's go ahead and face off with Elisa. I do still suggest that you save for this fight, but it's really not that bad. We're going to set up a couple growths. Thanks to our Eviolite and good defenses, we can very easily tank the Aerial Aces, and we do get paralyzed on the first Emolga, which is very annoying. The second Emolga will come out, hit us with another Aerial Ace, do decent damage, but also drop to a return. Zebstrika does have Flame Charge, but because we are already slower than it, it is very de-incentivized to even go for it, despite it being a super effective move. So because of that, even though we do get paralyzed, we are able to very easily win this fight, knocking out the Zebstrika with a Leaf Blade. Very nice. So after that, we're going to get on out of the gym right here, do a little bit of Pokemon dress up with Bianca, and then meet up with Cheren over on Route 5. So while Route 4 might have been the hardest fight, Route 5 Cheren is undoubtedly the most annoying. His Liepard has Fake Out, which wastes time, but he also ends up having Torment in this fight, which means that I cannot go for the same move multiple times in a row. Because of that, we kind of have to choose our moves carefully here. I will go for a Mega Drain to hit the Liepard weakly, so then I can set up my second growth that I need for everything in the back. He is going to send out his Tranquil next, and because of that, we are not going to want to go for Return. We're actually going to want to go for Leaf Blade. With the boost to our damage thanks to growth, it is still going to be able to knock it out despite the resistance, because we need to have our Return ready for the Pignite at the back so we can knock that out. His last Pokemon is pretty easy. Once again, we can just knock out the Pansage with a Leaf Blade despite the resistance, and there we go. We are ready to go. We can beat up a couple toddlers and then head into Driftvale City. As we get into the cold storage, we have a PP up right here. This is going to be the first PP up that we get, and we are going to be using on returns, because despite Leaf Blade being our stab, Return is going to be a little bit more spammable into some of the gauntlets and stuff like that, and that's why we'll keep seeing it in that first slot. After that, we can pick up an ether and then a protein over into the grass. It does cost a little bit of time, but it's pretty easy to grab, and a nice boost to our attack EVs is great. As we make our way inside, there is a couple spinner trainers right here that you want to be sure to avoid. They aren't really that bad of Pokemon wise. They're pretty easy to knock out, but they do of course cost time. And then we can clear out all the plasma dudes inside. They're not really any problem today, although this is the first place where we can run into demon watchdogs. And if you didn't know, demon watchdogs are very annoying. They are a combination of Confuse Ray, Hypnosis, and Super Fang. These demon watchdogs also have Crunch, so they can actually knock you out. Thankfully though, Servine isn't going to have any issues with the demon watchdogs today. We can just one-shot everything. Clay is going to cart off all of the plasma dudes, and then we are set free. So we're not going to pick up anything in the market. We don't need a heart scale or the expert belt today, and we can head straight into the gym. As we make our way through the gym, we will get to level 36, where we will learn Coil as well as evolve up into Superior, just in time to face off with Clay. Alright, let's do this, Clay. Of course, we're a grass type. We have a strong grass type stab in Leaf Blade, and that is going to go down. One is not going to be quite enough for Excadrill, so that is why we are going to be going for a single Coil. And with that, we can knock out his Excadrill, and of course, the 4 times weak to grass Palpitoad in the back is going to go down. So now I'm going to take the opportunity to talk about Coil. This is by far one of the best setup moves that Pokemon has ever made. It gives you a +1 to attack, defense, and accuracy. So it is all upside, and you get to boost 3 stats in one, which is absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, this move is crazy good and is definitely the biggest reason that Superior is going to get a solid result here today. So anyway, as we head into the Pokemon Center, this is where I really like to grab my max repels, because now that we have beaten Clay, they are available, and then we can top off on some more hyper potions. I also take the opportunity here to do a PC heal. Usually they're pretty slow, a lot slower than, you know, the nurse trainers or the random heal slots, but since you're already in a Pokemon Center, you might as well. And then we can also pick up our team before heading out of town and facing off with Bianca. Alright, and with Bianca, we get to see the power of Coil for the first time. We are going to set up 2 so we can get to +1 attack, definitely counteracting that Intimidate. And with that, we can easily power through everything. The Musharna has really good bulk, but it's not going to be enough to stop Superior today, especially because we have that even extra boost from the Miracle Seed. So we get the Fly TM right here. I'm going to pop my Repel, I'm going to heal up, and then I'm also going to teach Fly at the same time. So yeah, whenever you're doing bag things, you try to want to always make sure that you do everything at once, and this is just a nice spot to teach Fly. The scientists are really annoying. Sometimes I just kind of say screw it and just battle them anyway, because they are just very annoying. They have really random back and forth looks, and then we can head into Chargestone Cave. The plasma dudes, of course, are going to be no problems today. However, this is the second instance where we run into demon watchdogs, so you definitely have to watch out. These Demon Watchdogs, however, though, are even worse because they no longer have crunch, so they do not have a way to knock you out. So if you are stuck into a situation where you need to black out to a Demon Watchdog, it is going to take a very, very, very long time. So yeah, definitely make sure that you pay attention, maybe drop a save before this gauntlet if you have anything like that is going to struggle one-shotting the Watchdogs. So anyway, though, Serperior today is not going to have any problems, and we can go ahead and face off with N. Before this fight, we did teach Rock Smash over Mega Drain. This is going to give us a little bit of coverage for his steel types in the back. We don't have a way to break through Sturdy on Boldor. However, even though we set up a couple coils, and Leaf Blade is still able to knock him out despite all of those iron defenses. Joltik's going to go down, and thanks to Rock Smash, we have coverage for his Ferroseed and then the Clink in the back, so we're able to very easily knock out those and head into Mistralton City. As we head into the tower, there is only one mandatory trainer in here, Psychic Doreen. She's pretty easy to knock out with a bunch of returns and leaf blades. She does have a Sigilift, so be a little careful. That's pretty bulky and can hit hard. But once we go up the stairs right here, we get to see a fun little quirk. Whenever you hit the B button, these trainers will spin. On this floor as well, you have the nurse, and I affectionately call her the Fat Fish Nurse because she has a fat fish in the little Lamola in the back. It does have Protect. It's very annoying, but it's still a nice little spot to heal. The top floor right here, we also have some ace trainers that can be bypassed the same way, and we can meet up with Skyla at the top. Up here, we can ring that bell to send Skyla back to the gym, and I just want to say thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching this video, and for all of you that have supported me through 2025, and hopefully you're looking forward into 2026. I know this video is probably going to be a much longer one, but I really wanted to take the opportunity to see how much I have improved as compared to my first Serperior run in gameplay knowledge, in gameplay in general, and hopefully in video making. So there is that. So I hope that you are enjoying the video nonetheless, even though I am definitely rambling a lot more than I usually do nowadays. Anyway, as we make our way through the gym, it is a little bit slow. We're pretty much two-shotting everything as we make our way through with returns, but it's relatively safe. We just got to make sure that we stay nice and topped off and healthy just in case of any critical hits. Along the way, we did also pick up another PP up, and we're going to spend that on return as well before we go ahead and face off with Skyla. Skyla is relatively simple. You'd think it'd be kind of a tough fight for a grass type, but as we see with a coil, acrobatics does absolutely nothing. Unpheasant does end up tanking the hits, but that's okay. As she heals, we're just going to go for a Rock Smash into a return to knock that out, and then a final Leaf Blade for the Swanna in the back. Very easy fight. It's pretty dang consistent. I sometimes do like to save here anyway, though, just in case of a critical hit from Swoobat. That said, though, let's get shot out of that cannon, and then we can head towards Twist Mountain to face off with Cheren. Now that Cheren has an Unpheasant, he is a significantly bigger threat. We want to go for 2 coils right here, but he has Taunt, and that definitely messes things up. Also, a critical hit, Air Slash, does not help anything, but as we see when we knock it out, the Pignite's going to come out in. This Pignite does have Heat Crash, which would undoubtedly knock us out despite our defense boost. However, because of the way the AI works and it looks at moves with variable power, it will never actually select this move. So after the taunt wears off, we can set up our second coil that we need to one-shot it with return. So after that, everything in the back isn't too much of a problem, and then we can head into Twist Mountain. We are going to learn Giga Drain along the way over Rock Smash, so we have a nice way to get a little bit of healing and not potentially have to rely on our Hyper Potions as much. As we make our way through, there are two notable annoying trainers. The first one is the Battle Girl with Throw. She runs in a pattern, but for the life of me, I can never really seem to find a good consistent way to get past her. I usually kind of just YOLO it and hope. If I'm running a Pokemon that might struggle against the throw right here, I will save. But today with Serperior, I'm not able to get past her, and I do have to knock her out with a couple Leaf Blades. The second one, as we make our way through, is the trainer that has a sock, the black belt down here. However, he is relatively consistent to bypass. You just hug the wall right here, stand a step away from the dust cloud pile right there, and he will not look at you. Once he has neared the top of his path, you will just be able to make your way down. You want to avoid the dust cloud on the bottom there, because that does have a worker that will pop out, and then you are free to head into Icarus City. Ice-type gym, you think it might be a threat, but if anything, it's just an annoyance. These Cubchoos have the chance to go for Endure, but today it seems like they're playing very nice with me. The Cryogonals have very pitiful defense, even though they are pretty fast, so maybe watch out if you're playing a slower grass type. But of course, Serperior is going to have no problems whatsoever today, and we can go ahead and skip right to facing off with Bryson. We have forgone our Miracle Seed to hold the Yachi Berry. Because we are holding this Yachi Berry, that means that his lead Vanillish is never going to click Frost Breath. Now, I wanted to take the opportunity to explain why this happens. So the AI in this game can actually see what items your Pokemon are holding and play accordingly. Because you are holding the Yachi Berry, an item that halves the damage of a super effective Ice-type move, it will see that and say, hey, my Ice-type move is going to do half the damage it normally would. However, Frost Breath does have a very interesting effect. It's a pretty weak move at 40 base power, but it always crits, so it has an effective 80 base power. So half of that is going to be 40 times 2. It's going to be 80 super effectively. So it normally would still be the best option. However, the AI does not see that extra damage because of the crit. It does not know that Frost Breath is a guaranteed critical hit move. So it sees it as a 40 base power move. So it's saying, oh, okay, so I have a 40 base power move. It's getting cut in half to 20, and then it's going to be super effective to 40. Even with the stab boost to bring that up to 60 base power, it is actually still going to be weaker than his unstab 65 base power mirror shot, which he's only going to click that or acid armor, and that is honestly just hilarious. Because of this, we are able to very easily set up enough coils and spam Leaf Blade to knock out his Vanillish, his Beartic, and of course the Cryogonal in the back with his absolutely pitiful defense. Yeah, Bryson is deliberately hated by the game himself, and I honestly just find it hilarious that the game gives you the perfect answer to him so many times. It's just really funny. So anyway, let's head into Dragon Spiral Tower. As we make our way through the gauntlets, there really isn't a whole lot to talk about, but I will cover something that I haven't really touched on pretty much ever. There are 9 grunts total as you make your way through this entire gauntlet. All of them are mandatory, you can't skip anything, and they have a total of 14 Pokemon. The final 4 grunts are back to back to back to back, and they have 6 Pokemon total. Why am I saying all this? Well, if you're playing a Pokemon like Serperior that can kind of just spam return and one-shot everything, keeping your PP really nice and topped off is very useful. And that's where the all of the PP ups that I picked up come into play, because then I'm saving a lot of time not going into my bag and using ethers and elixirs and stuff like that. And it's just really useful because I can just go into these fights, just spam the A button and move on with my life. I don't even have to worry about moving my cursor over or anything like that. I will note though that right before the 4-way back-to-back, you do get a max elixir, which is pretty useful for some Pokemon at this point, or maybe even directly right after this. Some Pokemon don't really have a great move to spam through the entire gauntlet, but especially normal types, and I've found like water types and fire types are pretty good, and for the most part, anything that has decent physical attack can just kind of spam return through here as well. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and see N's fancy new dragon at the top of the tower and then head into the desert. As we make our way through the desert, we are going to bypass the girl that gives you a fossil today because we don't learn Fling. We will cover the fossil later. But also similar to Dragon Spiral Tower, we have another gauntlet of grunts right here. This time we have 8 total grunts with a total of 15 Pokemon between them. That means that between Dragon Spiral Tower and the Desert Resort, these back-to-back gauntlets have 29 total Pokemon, and that's why it's really nice to have to pick up those PP ups. So if you say have a return Pokemon, if you grabbed all 3 PP ups that were available before Dragon Spiral Tower, you can just spam that. I did cut 1 PP up, but that's okay. We can pretty easily just make our way through. Only have to move my cursor over to Leaf Blade a couple of times. There is another PP up in here. Sometimes I will pick that up if I did skip the second one, but for the most part, it comes a little bit too late to be super useful. It's really only useful if you might need it for the Dragon Gym coming up. But at the bottom of the castle, we are going to get lectured at by Getsus a little bit, and then we're going to fly out of here because we are not going to be picking up any rare candies. That one rare candy that we grabbed at the very beginning of the game is going to be the only one Serperior needs, so we actually save a ton of time by not having to go out of our way to grab rare candies at all in this run. So we're going to meet with everybody at Nakreen City, get a funny looking rock, and then we are going to meet up with Bianca one last time over on Route 8. So because of Coil, Bianca is going to be pretty much about the same as we've seen this entire run. So we're just going to set up a bunch of coils and go to town. There is something to mention here for when you are using setup moves. Her Stoutland does have Roar. The way that the AI works, if they have a phasing move, if you use setup and any of your stats go above 3 stages, the AI will always go for Roar. Sometimes that can be played to your advantage if you're a really slow Pokemon and for some reason you're having trouble with the Stoutland, but you're still able to set up 3 workups or 3 setup moves, then you can actually outspeed the Stoutland on that 4th turn and knock it out potentially. So it is something to keep in mind, and it is also very useful in the upcoming gym as well. But today, with our boosted coils, we are just going to plow right through the rest of her team, no problems, and we can head into Opelousas City. Unfortunately, as we make our way through the Dragon type gym, we're going to see that that Serperior's attacking stats are kind of holding it back. We can't use our stab moves that great against these Dragon types. They resist grass, and return is just not quite enough to one-shot pretty much all of these Pokemon. The Dinos don't have the best defense, so those will go down, but all the Fractures and Druddigons are going to end up being 2 shots. Speaking of the Druddigons, though, on the Ace trainers that do have them, I am going to set up a coil, because with that little bit of extra damage, I am going to be able to one-shot everything in the back. However, some of these other trainers, I'm just going to sit there and spam return, and especially against Hugo, we just got to make sure that we're nice and topped off, so we don't have to worry about rough skin into big damage attacks. So anyway, despite being a pretty slow gym, we are able to easily make our way through, and we can face off with our final gym leader. So against Drayden, we're going to be able to see a little quirk of the AI. If you set up, then the AI really likes to set up alongside you. It's just kind of like a fun little quirk. Also, he really wants to use Dragon Dance so he can be faster and strong enough to one-shot us. However, again, we have to make sure that we don't go past 3 stages in any stat to set up, because then he will be going for Dragon Tail. Again, this can be something that you can abuse with very slow Pokemon that might struggle with the Druddigon or Haxorus in the back. If you have a setup move, you can go to +3, and then that Haxorus and Druddigon in the back will be slower than you because they go for the negative priority Dragon Tail. Today, though, we only need 2 coils, and then we can just sweep with return without any problems, only really losing a little bit of time because we're playing Pokemon Black, and Drayden's Druddigon does have rough skin. Anyways, let's head out towards Route 10. I'm going to do all the trainers that I have available to me right now. I'm going to also set up a coil on the Ace trainer and the Veteran just to speed those battles up pretty quickly, and then we can go ahead and face off with Cheren one last time. Alright, Cheren, your final chance to shut us down. He does have Taunt again, and he is going to go for it on turn 1. And this is actually much more of a problem than it was at the Twist Mountain fight, because his Emboar that comes out second does now have Flamethrower, and that is going to hurt a lot. However, we can get around this by first going for a Leaf Blade, which is going to put him well out of range of Blaze, and then follow up with a return after, easily tanking the Flamethrower that we do have to take, and thankfully not getting burned. After that, a couple returns and Leaf Blades are going to finish off his last 2 members very easily, and then we can get a nice free heal just in time to head into Victory Road. On the way, I'm going to battle the extra trainer with the Sawsbuck and the Jellicent for good experience, but skip the Veteran because he does have an Escavalier, and that is just not something that we're going to be able to handle. As we make our way through Victory Road, I am going to pick up a bunch of trainers, and I usually skim over these, but today I want to shout them out. The first one is the mandatory trainer at the very beginning, the Ace trainer with the Whimsicott and Zebstrika. This is a pretty interesting speed check for you. A lot of Pokemon. This is a nice point for you to know, hey, at this point, would I actually outspeed and Zoroark and Dragon, because the Zebstrika has the same speed, so that's pretty neat. After that, we are going to knock out the Ace trainer with the Stoutland, the special attack veteran, as I call her, because all of her Pokemon give good special attack EVs, and then head upstairs to battle the Monkey Ace trainer. On our way back through the regular path, we are going to also battle the Black Pelt, and then finish things off at the Doctor. After all of this training, we are going to be level 58, which is usually a great level to aim for whenever you're playing a medium-slow Pokemon going into the Pokemon League, because it does line up your experience pretty well and all the yields that they give. All of that said, though, let's go ahead and get on into it and face our final battles of the run. Caitlin's up first, and there's really not a whole lot to talk about this one. We are going to set up 2 coils. We can easily tank the 2 psychics that she goes for. I do still suggest that you maybe save right here, just in case of a special defense drop or a critical hit, but after that, we can easily power through her team. We just need return for the Sigilyph, and there we go. Very easy first member. Moving on. Marshall is also relatively easy today, but there is something very interesting that I do want to mention. His throw does have Bulldoze, and that is something that you do really want to take into account. Serperior is not going to have to worry about today because he doesn't like to go for it, even if you are faster with a Pokemon that does resist Bulldoze. It's still a possibility though, so something you want to consider. Anyways, though, if you have 2 thresholds that are very important, the first one is 170 speed. At -1, you are still going to be faster than the Mienshao. The other one is 164 speed, which means that at -1 speed, you won't be able to outspeed the Mienshao, but you'll still be able to outspeed Sock. Today, though, Serperior doesn't have to worry about any of that. It's more than fast enough, so even though Throw doesn't go for Bulldoze, we're still able to set up Coil plenty, and we can just make our way through the fight. The Sock, of course, does have Sturdy, which is very annoying, but for the most part, we can just go for 2 Giga Drains, easily knock him out, and win the fight incredibly easily. Grimsley's up next, and he's also pretty simple. We are just going to set up 2 coils right here. We do get poisoned by a poison jab. That's pretty annoying, but we're able to knock it out with a Leaf Blade. We have taught Rock Smash, so we can knock out the Bisharp very quick and easily. However, I do think it was a mistake for me to have taught it over Giga Drain as opposed to Return, which we'll see why in just a second. Anyways, though, that's not really going to impact the Grimsley fight at all, so we can just finish off with a couple of Leaf Blades. Even though the poison is wasting time and ticking away, nothing is going to be able to stop us, and we can move on to the final member. Chantal is up last, and she is by far going to be the most difficult. We have to set up 4 coils to win this fight right here relatively consistently. Unfortunately, the first time around, I do have Resto Chesto to heal off the burn that the Coffergreek is going to give me, but I kind of pushed my setup a little bit too far. I tried to get my 4th coil before resting, and I take a reset. So, second time around, though, I'm going to coil up 3 times, heal off with my Resto Chesto, and then get my 4th coil and heal off that final burn with going for a normal rest. With our +4, we are able to easily, of course, knock out the Coffin, but also the Chandelure that comes out next with a resisted Leaf Blade. I do want to pause here because there is another option that we could have gone for. We could have gotten Aerial Ace. However, because Stab, Leaf Blade is actually going to be the same base power, even resisted, as Aerial Ace was. Actually, it might be a little stronger. I don't know. Do the math later, Cody. Put it on the screen. But it doesn't really matter, and Aerial Ace just kind of would have wasted us a little bit of too much time. So anyway, after knocking out the Chandelure, we do get flame-bodied, but that's not really too big of a problem, and then the Jellicent is going to come in. And this is why I thought that I needed to keep Giga Drain. Jellicent has the ability Curse Body. That means that anytime you go for a move against it, it doesn't matter if it makes contact or not, it has a 30% chance of disabling that move, which means that right now we only have Leaf Blade to go for. So if we had gotten Curse Bodied here, we wouldn't have had a move to touch the Golurk in the back because we only have return left. I do still think we would have been able to win the fight with like some resting shenanigans. The Golurk can't do too much damage to us and just wasting out the turns of the Curse Body, but it just would have been slower, and I think for safety's sake, keeping Giga Drain for this fight would have been really good. And then of course we can just reteach return later, which we will need. So anyway, outside of those minor little optimizations, we are easily able to win this fight, head downstairs, and see how Alder is managing with N. For the first time in 2026, N summons his gigantic castle out of the ground. Somehow. And it's going to be up to us to chase him down through it because, of course, Alder just couldn't hack it because he doesn't have an OP cool snake like we do. Anyway, as we make our way through the castle, of course, we're going to skip the rare candy and meet up with the man himself in the throne room. This end fight is relatively straightforward. We're just going to set up a whole bunch of coils and do good here. He does have Fusion Bolt. He will always go for it on turn 1, but that gives us a free coil to set up, and then his Zen Headbutts afterwards are just not going to do that much damage because we are boosting our defense. I'm going to go all the way up to +6 because we do need to get that for a one-shot on the Zekrom, but also eventually the Kling Clang that's going to come out here with a Leaf Blade. Archeops were faster than it, so that's not a problem, and the Caracosta, it is going to live with Sturdy, but it's just going to waste a little bit of our time. He's not really that much of a threat, especially with our defense so boosted. So very easy end fight. You'll love to see it. Getsus is going to come in, throw his little tantrum, and then it's going to be up to us to take him down. Alright, Getsus, once again, a relatively simple fight. We just have to set up to +4 with Coil, so we can get the one-shot on the Hydreigon. He does have that Toxic, so we have to go for that Resto Chesto, and then we're going to go for a Leaf Blade, knock that out. Hydreigon's going to come out, that's going to drop to a single return. Seismitoad, of course, 4 times a week to Grass, so no thanks. Electros, excuse me, that's going to drop. Bouffalant, it does not have Sap Sipper, so we don't have to worry about that. And last but not least is going to be the Bisharp, which I choose to two-shot with return. I do think that Leaf Blade might have actually been able to knock it out, but it doesn't really matter too much. I just went for return to try to avoid the healing turn. So anyway, Getsus gets carted off, and we have completed our first run of 2026. I do end my timer at the end of N's final dialogue here when the credits start, but this was so fun to come back and do. I'm very much looking forward to editing this video. I'll be straight with you. This is gonna take quite a while, but I still hope that you enjoyed it nonetheless, and all of the extra stuff that I added in. But anyway, we have a final time of 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 49 seconds with 2 resets. So very close to sub 120. I tried so hard, guys. I really did. I do think with a perfect run, this definitely could be sub 120. I tried my best. This was my 3rd run, and that's usually where I will stop myself. I kind of have a rule where I want to stop at 3 runs, but I just couldn't do it. Anyways, let's wrap up the credits, see the end, and rank this guy. And with a final in-game time of 4 hours and 21 seconds, we're going to bring in the first tier list of 2026, and it lands very highly into the B tier. So Despite not being able to break the threshold into the A tier, I am still incredibly proud of this run, and I think I gave Serperior justice. Of course, I don't think you're ever going to get a perfect run. There is a lot of things that have to go right in this run. Lenora can be annoying, Berg is a major hurdle. I did make that one mistake with Chantal. There were countless other small things that I could have optimized on. But all that said, though, I am very happy with how I played Serperior today, and I hope that you guys enjoyed how I did it and, you know, showed you guys what you could potentially do in the future if you ever wanted to push this Pokemon even further. So anyway, that is going to be it for Serperior. I know this was probably a much longer video than I normally do because I went into so much more detail, but I think it's a great way to start off 2026, just going all the way back to the very beginning where I started the channel. So anyway, that is going to be it for me today, though, guys. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Be sure to come back tomorrow where we are going to be playing with Emboar and seeing how well that Pokemon can do. Anyway, like, comment, sub, all that fun stuff. I love you all. Deuces.